My name is Philippa Gilmore and I work in implementing racing safety net for former racehorses. I joined ROR in 2016 and have been with the charity since. I was brought onto the welfare side in 2018 and there I have stayed. So I work with the vulnerable horses, I deal with the people that are ringing me for help and support. And a lot of my job is kind of counselling to a degree. It's helping people make the right decisions for the horse and understanding their circumstances, as it's always highly emotive having to come to the decision that you're going to have to relinquish your horse. So it can be really difficult for people. My experience with former racehorses, I have had nothing but for the last 25 years. I have had national hunt and flat horses since. Every horse has stayed with me until the day it's gone. And they're all just such different characters, but the one thing they are is people. They love people. And they are wonderfully kind and terribly clever and intuitive and just the most rewarding breed. We have various safety nets for horses, whether they left racing 10 years ago or whether they're on their first step out of racing. So fundamentally, we've got the vulnerable horse scheme, which is there for any horse, no matter when it retired. So it could be that it retired 2 years ago from the sport or 10 years ago. If that horse finds itself in a precarious situation or is potentially vulnerable with no resale value, we have funding from British Racing to support those horses in being relocated to one of our partner centres and being retrained with the hope to rehome and find their person again. We also have a first step support for horses that are leaving training and are potentially temperamentally or physically compromised, and the racing owner or trainer is not sure whether or not that horse is going to have a good life after racing. So we work in partnership with Heroes, who are a specialist thoroughbred retraining charity. We work in partnership with them and they take those horses in to assess their suitability for a life after racing. And then finally, we've got our emergency relief. So that is as the name suggests. So should we be working with other welfare agencies and there's a horse in urgent need of care, then we can implement that funding to provide that urgent care prior to being accepted onto the vulnerable horse scheme where appropriate. So on average, we support through the vulnerable horse scheme probably about 50 horses a year. Now, there's various reasons that those horses have become vulnerable. Sometimes it is just the owner is in crisis, either personally, financially, or emotionally, and they can't support that horse. But a lot of the time it's due to clinical issues that are potentially undiagnosed or a very sort of long medical history, clinical history, where all sorts of investigations have taken place and the owners have kind of come to the end of the road. So we'll step in to effectively fund any further investigation if warranted. But ultimately our main aim is always to find that next person for that horse so as they've got a one-to-one relationship. So on top of developing a sustainable funding model with British racing stakeholders, donations are fundamental for us to continue with our work in the education space to support owners with these former racehorses. It's fundamental to continue our welfare work and provide all those opportunities for these horses when they've retired from the sport.